can't believe 2022 is already over with. It's been an exciting year at Alchemix Bar and personally as a bartender. If you don't know, I work at a hotel bar here in Dubuque, Iowa called Hotel Julian. I work at the Riverboat Lounge, and one of the most common questions that I get is, how much do I make as a bartender in Iowa? Well, let's find out. This video isn't to boast or brag about how much money I made. It is to help people understand that there is a career in bartending if you want there to be. You can make as much money as you want or as little as money as you want. It really just depends on how much work and effort you want to put into it. You actually can make more money than you think you can. So yeah, we're gonna go over some numbers of what I personally made in 2022. Everything that we're gonna go over is just my specific job. We're gonna leave Riley's job out of it since she's not a bartender. And you can get an idea of what or how we live here in Iowa with just my salary alone. Well, not really salary, but you know what I mean, how much money. Bear with me, it's gonna be a lot of numbers. I'm gonna try to help with posting it all up here for you so you can kind of see and visually take it in. Yeah, let's get started. So at the beginning of 2022, my hourly rate was $11 an hour. In May was my 1-year anniversary at the hotel. I did get a raise of 7%. So since May, I've been making $11.77. That is in Eastern Iowa, a more than average hourly wage for a bartender. I am the lead bartender where I work at, and that's more in line of what I would say is market price for a lead bartender here in Eastern Iowa. I know some that make a little bit more, some make a little bit less. The hours I specifically worked total is I worked 1,901 regular hours. I worked 9.75 holiday hours. I received 37.27 hours of PTO, personal time off, for when we went to San Diego. Worked 170.5 hours of overtime. Total hours billed for 2022 was 2,118.5 hours. If you divide that by 52, comes out to be 40.5 hours average I worked a week. Some weeks were a little bit less. I called in sick, took a couple days off. Some weeks I worked a lot more, especially during the holidays. You know, I'm working 55 hours a week, sometimes over 62. So it all depends, but the average throughout the year was 40.5 hours, which isn't too bad in the bartending world. Now on the pay breakdown, there's gonna be a lot of numbers here and I'll go over any ones that aren't a normal pay. So these are all the things I got paid for in 2022. My hourly rate, from the hotel, I got paid $21,217. Holiday pay, $160. PTO was $409. Overtime was $2,821. I have a bonus of $50 and an incentive of $200. I believe those are from employee referrals, and I think we had like a gift card incentive program throughout the hotel. Retro pay is $577. That's from when my raise happened. I actually didn't get my year review for a couple months after my 1 year because it was during the summer. It was super busy, so they just retroly paid me 77 cents on the hours from May to when my review actually was. Cash tips, I made $10,396. Credit card tips, $27,983. And banquet tips, $1,164. Again, we're a hotel, so we have event spaces. Sometimes I had to bartend on some specific events and other things throughout the hotel, and that is the basically the gratuity that I received from working banquets. So with a gross total before any taxes taken out, I made $64,800 in 2022 working as a full-time bartender. So with all the gross total and the hours I worked, if you break it down, I basically made $30.50 an hour, which is a crazy amount for me to be making in an hour. So that's including all my prep time, closing time, and everything I made. I would say that's a really good number for not having a college education. I'm not saying you need a college education or you don't need one, but I'm just saying I personally don't have one, and you don't need one to be a bartender. So it's definitely an avenue to definitely look at and to consider for sure. Now, something else I didn't mention is I normally only work 4 days a week. I can pretty much get my 40 hours in just 4 days because we are open for 6 to 8 hours a day, depending on what day it is. And you know, you come in a little bit early to prep, stay a little bit later to close. I can basically get 10 hours a day. So in my opinion, I made $65,000 in 1 year, working basically 4.5 days a week. I think that's pretty good. I will take that with any other bartending job I've ever had. And to be honest, this is definitely the best year I've ever had bartending. It's a combination of working hard, having a great team working with you to help support you and to help guests, because providing guests a great guest experience is the best thing you can do if you're worried about money. And then also having obviously a lovely wife that appreciates and supports you working these crazy hours. Luckily, she works those crazy hours too. And again, just 12 years of understanding bartending and learning the craft and keep learning it. So some of you might be thinking $65,000 is a lot of money, and some of you might be thinking $65,000 is barely enough to live off where you live. I totally get that, right? Specifically here in the United States, there's huge gaps of cost of living, or how much it costs for you to live. Obviously, I don't know much about the rest of the world. What we're gonna do now is go over data, specifically in Iowa and in Dubuque, Iowa, to show you how much $65,000 can get you and live off of. These numbers are through the Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a website where you can go look for jobs, and it'll also show you how much pay is. So if you want to know what a graphic designer in Chicago makes, you can go look that up, and they'll kind of tell you what the average salary for that specific job in that specific city is. So the average yearly bartender in Dubuque makes $41,000 a year. The average yearly bartender in Iowa makes $40,000 a year. I looked at Chicago, a yearly bartender makes $45,000 a year, and some of the employees are estimated $25 to $50 an hour. In San Diego, the average bartender makes $41,000, with some employers estimating an average of $25 to $35 an hour. That's just one website. Tell me what the data is. If you're a bartender in one of those cities or some of the bigger cities, and you're willing to share roughly what you guys made last year, leave it in the comments. It's not to brag, but it's also to show what people are making, because people need to talk about money, because if you don't, then other bartenders aren't gonna be wanting to bartend full time, right? If you don't know how much you make, you're not gonna wanna do it. But if you know there's an opportunity there, it's definitely worth knowing. The rest of this data is from census.gov. The population of Iowa is 3.1 million. There are cities that are way bigger than that. So Iowa is a fairly not populated state. Dubuque population based off 2021 is 59,000. The median household income is 58,000, and the median value of a home is 155,000. You know, going with the numbers is I personally make more than just the median household income in Dubuque. You know, again, I'm lucky and fortunate to be able to have that ability to, if I was to live by myself, but obviously Riley is going to be helping us with our income also. Our expenses, we bought our house for $97,500. So our monthly mortgage is $600. Our water averaged $76 in 2022. Electric, $221. Gas, $190. Internet, $90. Insurance, that includes our cars and our house, was $220. Total monthly expenses, we pay about $1,316. I also looked up what the average 2-bedroom apartment, let's say in Chicago or San Diego, costs, and they range anywhere between $1,400 to $2,600 and way above that. In Iowa, especially Dubuque, Iowa, we can get by with paying all our expenses and mortgage what some people are just paying for rent alone in some of these bigger cities. Yeah, people might think Iowa's boring, you know, there's not much to do, it's, you know, there's no one that lives there and stuff like that, but the cost of living here is significantly less than a lot of these bigger cities. Obviously, it's less populated, so here in Dubuque, again, 60,000 people, you know, there is not 20 different cocktail bars, you know, so it's a growing market for sure, especially where we live at. We are a tourist kind of destination here in the Midwest, and it's growing, so it's kind of cool to be on the cusp of seeing that and help, I guess, leading the charge, you know, like being part of it. I can make a comfortable living, have a very low expense monthly to where I can live comfortably and not worry about living paycheck to paycheck. And it just really depends on, you know, how hard you want to work. I think I worked my ass off in 2022 for what I made personally. I want to make more than that, you know, and I'm not just numbers driven. I want to work better at being a better bartender, you know, providing a better guest experience, learning more about my craft, helping my team grow as bartenders. And I think if you focus on all of that, the money will come afterwards. Just don't strictly think about, I need to make this much money every single time. So I know this is kind of more of a rambly video. I know a lot of people are always afraid to talk about money and how much they make and how much you make and all that stuff, because it can be difficult to talk about, right? Because you don't want to think people think you're better than them or that you're not as successful and all this other stuff. So all I'm saying is that you can make a comfortable living bartending as a career bartender, and depending on where you live, you can live a very comfortable lifestyle where you make more than people with 4-year degrees. And I'm not putting down people with 4-year degrees. We need those people, but you don't have to think you have to have a 4-year degree to be a success, you know? So I hope you guys find this video kind of interesting. I know it's kind of more of a rambly one, data driven, no cocktails in this video, but I just wanted to put this video out there so in case one person thinks that they can make it as a career bartender. We got some great plans for 2022. Today, this video was released, and we also released our first podcast. Find the YouTube channel, Do You Want to Start a Tab? You can find it on Spotify and any other podcast platform. Riley and I sit down and we read bar stories from the internet and give you our thoughts and reactions on those stories. So it's a nice little fun project we always wanted to start here in the past couple months. And so that's released today, which is Friday. And yeah, we're excited for 2023, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.